They tell you that pain makes you stronger. I don't believe that. Pain by itself does nothing. Pain can destroy you just as easily as it can build you. I know because there was a season when everything I believed about myself collapsed in front of my eyes. It wasn't one dramatic moment. It wasn't one betrayal or one failure. It was thousands of tiny disappointments piling on top of each other until I could no longer recognize the person staring back at me in the mirror. Every morning I woke up carrying invisible weight. Every night I convinced myself tomorrow would be different, only to discover that tomorrow looked exactly like yesterday. And the most dangerous part wasn't losing money. It wasn't losing opportunities. It wasn't losing people's respect. It was slowly losing my belief that I was capable of becoming someone extraordinary. That destroyed me. Have you ever smiled while your mind was falling apart? Have you ever answered, "I'm fine," knowing that every word felt like a lie? People only notice the collapse when it becomes visible. They don't see the silent battles that happen long before everything falls apart. They don't hear the conversations you have with yourself at 2 a.m. They don't know what it feels like to question every decision you've ever made, while the world keeps moving as if nothing happened. There is a kind of loneliness that exists in crowded rooms. There is a kind of exhaustion that sleep cannot fix. There is a kind of fear that whispers, "Maybe this is all you'll ever become." That whisper is more dangerous than failure itself, because if you believe it, you stop fighting before life has finished testing you. I remember standing still while everyone else seemed to be moving forward. Friends celebrated victories. Strangers announced achievements. Every scroll through my phone felt like another reminder that I was behind. I compared my unfinished story to everyone else's highlight reel until comparison became a prison with invisible walls. The strange thing about comparison is that it convinces you that your value depends on someone else's success. It steals your gratitude before it steals your confidence. Then it steals your ambition. Eventually, it steals your future. I didn't realize that the person defeating me wasn't my competition. It was the version of me that kept believing I had already lost. Then reality taught me a lesson I will never forget. The world does not reward potential. It rewards execution. Dreams are invisible until discipline gives them a body. Talent is powerless until consistency gives it direction. Confidence is meaningless if it disappears the moment life becomes uncomfortable. I spent years waiting to feel ready, waiting for certainty, waiting for motivation, waiting for the perfect opportunity, but waiting became my addiction. Every excuse sounded reasonable. Every delay felt justified. Every tomorrow due became another month, another year, another chapter of a life I wasn't truly living. One day I asked myself a question that changed everything. What if the obstacle wasn't in front of me? What if it had become part of me? That question was painful because it forced me to stop blaming circumstances. I could no longer blame my past. I could no longer blame the economy, bad luck, difficult people, or missed opportunities. For the first time, I had to confront the possibility that my habits were creating the reality I kept complaining about. Responsibility felt heavy, but it also felt liberating. The moment you accept responsibility, you also reclaim your power. No one can rewrite your future if they aren't holding the pen. I stopped searching for miracles and started building systems. I stopped asking, "How do I become successful?" and started asking, "Who must I become for success to recognize me?" Those are two completely different questions. One focuses on receiving, the other focuses on transforming. Life rarely changes because you wish harder. It changes because your identity evolves. Every decision you make is a vote for the person you are becoming. Every disciplined morning, every difficult conversation, every promise you keep to yourself, every distraction you refuse, they seem insignificant in isolation, but together they become the architecture of an extraordinary life. The greatest discovery I ever made was that destruction and transformation often wear the same face. When a building is condemned, it must be demolished before something stronger can stand in its place. The same is true for people. Sometimes life removes your comfort because your comfort is limiting your destiny. Sometimes your plans collapse because they were too small for the future waiting to meet you. Sometimes what feels like the end is simply the sound of an old identity breaking apart. That process is terrifying because you cannot yet see what is replacing it. You only see what is disappearing. The comeback never begins with applause. It begins in silence. No audience, no celebration, No one telling you that you're doing the right thing. Just you, facing another sunrise with every reason to stay the same, and one quiet reason to change. That is where I found myself. The world hadn't suddenly become kinder. Opportunities hadn't started knocking on my door. My circumstances looked almost identical to the ones that had crushed me. The only thing that changed was a decision so small that nobody else could see it. I stopped asking life to become easier, and I started asking myself to become stronger. That single shift altered everything. I realized that waiting for confidence before taking action was backwards. Confidence isn't the starting line. It's the reward for showing up repeatedly when doubt is louder than belief. Every morning I kept promises that no one else knew I had made. I got up when comfort begged me to stay down. I studied when distraction invited me to waste another day. I worked when excuses sounded completely reasonable. Those moments never made headlines, but they built something far more valuable than recognition. They built trust between me and myself, and once you trust yourself again, the impossible starts looking negotiable. I also discovered something that completely changed the way I viewed failure. Failure is expensive only if you refuse to learn from it. Otherwise, it becomes tuition. Every mistake I had been ashamed of suddenly looked different. Every rejection carried information. Every loss revealed a weakness that success had been hiding. I stopped asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and started asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" That question transformed frustration into fuel. The people who rise higher than everyone else are not protected from failure. They simply extract more wisdom from it. They don't waste suffering. They convert it into strength. They don't collect excuses. They collect lessons. The same event that breaks one person can become the foundation of another person's empire. The difference is never the event itself. The difference is the meaning you assign to it. Then I began to understand wealth in a way I never had before. Most people believe wealth starts in a bank account. It doesn't. Wealth begins in the mind long before it appears in the world. A person who constantly believes there is never enough will find proof of scarcity everywhere they look. A person who believes opportunities can be created begins to notice doors that everyone else walks past. Money follows value. Value follows skill. Skill follows discipline. And discipline follows identity. Everything traces back to the person you believe you are. If you secretly see yourself as someone who always loses, you'll unconsciously make decisions that protect that identity. But if you begin acting like someone who is capable, resourceful, and resilient, your choices change. Your standards rise. Your conversations improve. Your habits become intentional. Eventually, your results have no choice but to follow. The outer world is constantly reflecting the inner one. One evening, I looked back at the person who had whispered, "It destroyed me," and I realized something astonishing. The event hadn't destroyed me. My interpretation of it had. I had mistaken a temporary defeat for a permanent identity. I had confused a difficult chapter with the ending of the book. Life had never declared me finished. I had. The prison I lived in wasn't built from failure. It was built from conclusions. The moment I stopped concluding that I wasn't enough, the walls began to disappear. I saw possibilities where I had once seen dead ends. I saw opportunity hidden inside inconvenience. I saw that resilience isn't something you're born with. It's something you earn every time you refuse to surrender to the version of yourself that wants to quit. That doesn't mean fear vanished. Fear still walked beside me. Doubt still knocked on my door. There were mornings when uncertainty felt overwhelming, but I learned that courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is refusing to let fear make your decisions. Every meaningful dream will demand that you move before certainty arrives. Every extraordinary opportunity will ask you to believe before you have evidence. If you wait until every question is answered, you'll spend your life watching other people build the future that could have been yours. Progress belongs to those who are willing to take imperfect action, while everyone else waits for perfect conditions. As my mindset changed, something unexpected happened. I began attracting different people, not because I became lucky, but because my standards changed. Energy recognizes energy. People who constantly complain are uncomfortable around someone committed to growth. People obsessed with excuses avoid those who take responsibility. Success isn't just about finding the right environment. It's also about becoming the kind of person who belongs in that environment. When your vision becomes bigger than your need for approval, You'll stop shrinking yourself to fit into rooms you've already outgrown. You'll realize that not everyone is meant to understand your journey. Some people only recognize greatness after it succeeds. Your responsibility is not to convince them. Your responsibility is to continue becoming. There comes a moment in every meaningful journey when you stop chasing proof and start becoming it. You no longer need the world to tell you that you're capable because you've accumulated something far more valuable than praise. You've accumulated evidence. Evidence that you can survive difficult seasons. Evidence that you can adapt when life changes the rules. Evidence that you can keep moving when comfort disappears. That evidence becomes unshakable confidence. Not the loud confidence that needs attention, but the quiet confidence that walks into uncertainty and says, "I've been through worse, and I'm still standing." That is the confidence that changes destinies. It doesn't shout, it doesn't boast, it simply refuses to retreat. Look around you. Every remarkable achievement you admire was once invisible. Every company, every invention, every masterpiece, every movement that transformed lives began as an idea that existed only in someone's mind. There was no guarantee, there was no certainty. There was only conviction strong enough to outlast criticism. Most people never fail because their dreams are impossible. They fail because they abandon those dreams during the season when nothing appears to be happening. Growth is often silent. Roots grow before branches appear. Foundations are laid before skylines exist. The greatest mistake you can make is assuming that, because you cannot see progress, progress is not taking place. Life does some of its finest work beneath the surface. One day, people may look at your success and call you fortunate. They'll say you were in the right place at the right time. They'll admire the results without understanding the price. They won't remember the mornings you worked while everyone else slept. They won't remember the evenings when doubt sat beside you, whispering that quitting would be easier. They won't remember the opportunities you created after dozens of doors remained closed. They will see the harvest, but never the seasons of planting. That's the irony of success. The world celebrates the visible victory, but rarely notices the invisible discipline that produced it. Don't let that discourage you. The unseen work is where real transformation happens. Never allow temporary comfort to negotiate away your permanent potential. Comfort is seductive because it asks for nothing today while quietly stealing tomorrow. Every hour spent avoiding growth becomes a debt that the future eventually collects. But every hour invested in becoming stronger compounds in ways that are almost impossible to measure at first. One disciplined decision inspires another. One courageous action creates momentum for the next. Small victories become powerful habits. Powerful habits shape your identity, and identity determines direction. Success is rarely one dramatic leap. More often, it is thousands of ordinary decisions made with extraordinary consistency. You also have to become fiercely protective of your mind. Every day, the world will offer you fear, comparison, distraction, and limitation. It will tell you that you're too late, too inexperienced, too old, too young, too ordinary, or too damaged. But those voices only gain power when you repeat them to yourself. Replace them with better questions. Instead of asking, "What if I fail?" Ask, "What if this challenge reveals a strength I didn't know I possessed?" Instead of saying, "I'm not ready," say, "Every step I take prepares me for the next." Instead of believing, "I missed my chance," believe, "The next opportunity is searching for the person I'm becoming." Your internal dialogue is not background noise. It is the architect of your future. Remember this truth. Abundance is not reserved for a chosen few. It favors those who create value, remain curious, embrace responsibility, and continue growing long after the excitement fades. Wealth is more than money. It is freedom to make meaningful choices. It is the ability to solve bigger problems. It is the confidence to stand firm when circumstances become uncertain. It is waking up each day knowing that your future is no longer being dictated by your fears but by your vision. That kind of wealth begins long before numbers appear in an account. It begins the moment you stop living as a victim of yesterday and start acting like the author of tomorrow. So when someone asks you about the hardest chapter of your life, don't lower your head in shame. Tell them the truth. Tell them there was a season when you thought everything was over. Tell them there was a season when disappointment became your daily companion, and uncertainty became your shadow. Tell them there was a season when you whispered, "It destroyed me." Then pause, smile, and finished the sentence they never expected to hear. It destroyed the version of me that accepted less than I was capable of becoming. It destroyed the excuses that kept me small. It destroyed the fear that controlled my decisions. It destroyed the need for approval. It destroyed the belief that my past had the authority to define my future. And when those things disappeared, something stronger took their place. Discipline replaced hesitation. Vision replaced confusion. Purpose replaced drifting. Resilience replaced self-doubt. The person who emerged from the ashes was not the same person who entered the fire. That is the hidden gift of adversity. It doesn't merely test your character, it reveals it. It strips away everything false until only what is real remains. Don't close this video yet. Before you move on with your day, I want you to do something that most people will never have the courage to do. I want you to stop running from the chapter that hurt you the most. Stop trying to erase it. Stop pretending it never happened. Stop apologizing for the scars that taught you how to survive. Look directly at that moment, the rejection, the betrayal, the business that failed, the opportunity that disappeared, the relationship that ended, the dream that collapsed in your hands. Look at it without anger. Look at it without shame. Then ask yourself one question that has the power to change the rest of your life. If that experience didn't happen to destroy me, what did it happen to prepare me for? The answer won't come immediately. Some answers require growth before they reveal themselves. But the moment you ask a better question, your future begins to change. Every breakthrough in history started with someone refusing to accept the obvious conclusion. While everyone else saw an ending, someone else saw a beginning. While everyone else accepted limitation, someone else imagined possibility. That is the difference between people who merely survive life and people who transform it. Your future is watching you right now. Imagine the version of yourself 5 years from today. Stronger, wiser, disciplined, financially free, emotionally unshakable. Imagine that person looking back at who you are today. What would they tell you? They wouldn't tell you to quit. They wouldn't tell you to surrender because life became difficult. They would thank you for refusing to give up during the season when nothing made sense. They would thank you for making difficult decisions while nobody was watching. They would thank you for investing in your mind instead of feeding your excuses. They would thank you for choosing growth over comfort, vision over fear, purpose over distraction. Every extraordinary future depends on an ordinary decision made today. That decision is yours. Nobody else can make it for you. Nobody else can believe on your behalf. Nobody else can build the life that belongs to you. Never underestimate what consistency can accomplish. Mountains are shaped one grain at a time. Oceans carved through rock one wave at a time. Empires are built one decision at a time. Character is formed one challenge at a time. You don't need one perfect day to change your life. You need enough ordinary days where you refuse to betray your own standards. Progress compounds. Confidence, wisdom compounds. Discipline compounds. Even pain compounds, unless you transform it into purpose. That is why every day matters. Not because one day changes everything, but because thousands of days eventually become the person you are known for. The life you admire in someone else is usually the result of choices that nobody applauded when they were being made. From this moment forward, guard your attention as if it were your greatest investment, because it is. Where your attention goes, your energy follows. Where your energy flows, your future grows. Stop feeding your mind with voices that convince you to stay average. Stop measuring your worth by the opinions of people who have never carried your responsibilities or dreamed your dreams. Fill your mind with ideas that stretch your imagination. Build habits that strengthen your discipline. Spend time with people who challenge your thinking instead of validating your excuses. The quality of your life will always mirror the quality of your focus. Your destiny is not decided by one dramatic event. It is quietly shaped by what you repeatedly pay attention to. And if you ever find yourself standing in another storm, and you will remember this moment. Remember that storms don't ask for permission before they arrive, but they also don't last forever. They pass. The question has never been whether life will test you. The question is who you become while being tested. Will you become more bitter or more resilient? More fearful or more courageous? More distracted or more focused? More defeated or more determined? Every hardship offers those two paths. Choose the one that leads forward. Choose the one that builds instead of breaks. Choose the one that future generations will thank you for taking. So let today become the day you stop introducing yourself by your wounds. Introduce yourself by your vision. Let your discipline become louder than your excuses. Let your purpose become stronger than your fear. Let your actions become greater than your doubts. You have survived every difficult day that once convinced you it would be the end. You're still here, your heart still beats, your mind can still learn, your hands can still build, your voice can still inspire, your future has not been canceled. It is waiting for your decision. One day, years from now, someone will ask how you turned your life around. They will expect a secret, a shortcut, a lucky break. Instead, you'll smile, because you'll know the truth. The turning point wasn't a miracle that arrived overnight. It was the moment you decided that your pain would no longer be your prison. It would become your foundation. So stand up, take the next step. Keep your word to yourself. Build when it's difficult. Believe when it's lonely. Grow when it's uncomfortable. And never forget the sentence that changed everything. It destroyed the person I used to be, so I could finally become the person I was meant to become. That's not the end of your story. That's where your legacy begins. If this message found you today, don't ignore what you're feeling. Maybe this wasn't just another video. Maybe this was the moment you stopped seeing yourself as someone who was broken and started seeing yourself as someone who was being rebuilt. When people look at your life years from now, they'll notice the success, the confidence, the peace, and the victories. They'll admire the results, but you'll remember the nights no one saw. You'll remember the battles you fought in silence. You'll remember the mornings you chose discipline over comfort and purpose over fear. Those unseen moments will always be the real story. Never be ashamed of the chapter that almost ended you. That chapter gave you perspective. It gave you resilience. It taught you who you could trust, what truly mattered, and how powerful you become when you refuse to surrender. What once felt like the end became the beginning of everything. So make yourself one promise today. No matter how difficult tomorrow becomes, you will not return to the mindset that once kept you trapped. You will not let fear write your future. You will not allow temporary pain to steal a permanent destiny. You will keep moving. You will keep learning. You will keep building. One decision, one habit, one day at a time. Years from now, you'll look back at this version of yourself with gratitude. Not because life was easy, but because you chose to become stronger than every obstacle placed in your path. You'll realize that your greatest breakthrough was never the money you earned, the recognition you received, or the success you achieved. Your greatest breakthrough was becoming the kind of person who could never be defeated by circumstances again. So walk forward with confidence. Protect your vision. Guard your mind. Honor your discipline. Build a life so meaningful that your past no longer feels like a burden. It feels like the foundation of your legacy. And whenever life tries to convince you that you're finished, remember these words. It didn't destroy me. It destroyed my fear. It destroyed my excuses. It destroyed the limits I placed on myself. It destroyed the version of me that was willing to settle. What remained was stronger, wiser, fearless, and unstoppable. This is not your ending. This is your rise. Now go build the life your future self is waiting to thank you for.